Hello, everybody. Very much welcome to another conversation with Spirit. Tamalla just finished a conversation with Eva Gardner about images, I think it was. And we are going to do another conversation, or at least Tamalla will help me with another conversation, asking questions with Elizabeth Taylor. And Elizabeth only got through to me, I think, last week. So she's still like uncomfortable, as in, you know, speaking in front of when sharing messages, and there's no other person, you know, on the other side to actually question or ask anything. So this is very helpful. Thank you so much, Tamalla, for helping me out and for helping Elizabeth. So a very short introduction before I start, when you are not subscribed to our channel. So my name is Cindy and I'm here with Tamalla, and we both have a YouTube channel that is called Two Psychics No Limits. No limits. So we are, with this channel, we want to create an environment and a way of living that we can discuss every single topic or theme that are still seen as in being uncomfortable with, that we have to be ashamed of, that we need to sweep around underneath the carpet. Just don't talk about it. And we would like to open this up and create a greater way that we can, you know, discuss these topics without any uncomfortable feelings, or that we say we have to tuck it away, and we want to bring it actually up to the surface, because every single person has a certain experience that we can share, that you can share, that we are actually sharing, that somebody else says, hey, that resonates with me. So we want to actually to remove the taboos of the taboos. That's what you said last time, right? Yeah. Okay. And so for Tamalla, she has her own website. It's called Your Own Soul. And for readings, you can reach out to Tamalla by sending an email to info@yourownsoul. And Tamalla does Akashic readings, soul readings, and also a very good course which is called Manifestation Course. I'm also doing this course, and I learn a lot about myself, I can tell you that. Yes, it's super nice. It's only 6 months, so it is not that it takes you forever to learn it. And I have my own website as well. It is Channeling Carla, and Carla is my own spirit team. And because I channel several beings, I can understand that it might come across as very maybe odd or not yet familiar, that there's one person channeling all those beings. And I thought, let me introduce some kind of way for you to get in touch with those beings and maybe get comfortable with. And so I offer a discount for any being that I channel, and you'll find those beings on my website, but you can also find them on my YouTube channel. It's called Blue Lotus, and I will give more details about the discount, and you can choose between a 30 minutes reading or a 60 minutes reading. And yeah, so I hope this, you know, this will help you as well to get comfortable with reaching out for guidance or for counseling. And Tamalla is doing the same thing. She channels her own group. It's called Z. They are also very good. And so for this evening, I'm going to channel Elizabeth Taylor. And Tamalla, you will be asking questions. I do not know what she wants to talk about.
That makes it fun.
That makes it fun. I have an idea. I have an idea, but I'm not really sure. So I will leave it up to her to start.
Okay.
All right. So if you can give me a moment, then Elizabeth will come here. Hello, my name is Elizabeth Taylor. Um, I'm very happy that you are here with me, Tamalla, to guide me into a conversation. It is for me still an unusual way to speak, so to say. I always had my own body, and now to use somebody else's body is still something unfamiliar to me. And today I would like to talk about mental health. A lot of people, a lot of listeners, my fans, they have read in either magazines or even my books about what happened in my life and how much I struggled towards the end. I just want to say already that I am not going to talk about the last part of my life. I would like to focus still on the time period when I was working together with Marilyn, and at the same time period that I know Judy and Ava from, because in that time period, I have experienced a lot. I have experienced illnesses. I have had serious physical problems. And in that phase as well is when I started to drink, and where I started to take pills. And I think that Ava already mentioned this to you, Tamalla, is that we both had different motivations to drink. And for me, it was to escape. I wanted to escape from feeling certain feelings. It was for me hard to deal with certain experiences that I did not really know what to do. And for me, drinking was one solution. And because I have chosen that path of drinking and escaping from the life that I was living, I would like to actually speak about how important mental health is. There are a lot of options out there how to deal with what you're dealing with. And I just want to say, Tamalla, that I am, but also my friends on this side, we are very happy that you are able to talk about experiences from your own life and bring them forward, bring them to the surface. For people to understand your background and how you dealt with them. It is for us extremely important that this is happening because I and Ava and many more have chosen a different path, have chosen a different solution to our problems. And what we have chosen, what I have chosen, has not been the most healthiest way to cope with difficult experiences. There are other ways how to deal with them. And I think that Ava already explained and mentioned in the conversation that you had prior to mine, is that it is very important to choose the person that fits to you. Don't take somebody randomly. Go for someone that you feel comfortable with. Find somebody who is able to offer you what you are looking for. It does not mean that the person that you have met for the first time, and when he or she is not a good fit for you, that he or she has a wrong way of doing things. It just means that you are looking for something else. You require a different approach. You require a different way of being heard. You are looking for something else that this person is not able to give you. So regarding mental health, as I've mentioned, I've had serious physical problems. I even ended up in a very critical state of life where I could have actually died. But I managed, as you might have known, I managed to get well on the outside. I looked well and positive on the outside. I could not have said it that it was positive from the inside. Tamalla, when I'm not making sense, will you please point it out for me?
I absolutely will.
Thank you. Now, when I said that I was that I looked okay from the outside, of course, the physical body is something that you see at first. You might even make judgments on how a person looks like, how a person behaves. But you would not know how a person feels from the inside. A person from the outside might look like very well taken care of after. He or she smells good. He or she has a certain, was wearing decent clothes. He or she looks healthy. But nobody knows what is going on behind the curtains, except for yourself. So when you are in a place in this lifetime and you do not feel that well, please do not expect from your surroundings, from anybody around you, to notice that you are not feeling okay, because they do not see it. Unless, of course, you change your appearance, your physical outlook from one day to the next day. But when you keep up with how you have been dressing, how you've been looking, people around you will not know immediately. There might be some signs after a few months, or maybe even after a longer time. I'm always surprised, or not surprised, it is more as in not expecting that someone can come across healthy.
Hello, brave awakened ones. This is Veronica.
Well, this person might not feel okay after for decades, and you cannot expect that somebody calls out on you. You have to step forward and ask for the help that you need. That's what I want to say on the mental health. It is somehow, yes, tricky to find out if somebody has positive thoughts or negative thoughts. And the only person who would know is yourself. Tamalla, do you have any questions for me so far?
I don't have any questions so far, but I appreciate you talking about the difference between just because you look okay doesn't mean you are okay.
Yes. There are plenty of people who display themselves that they are doing okay. And when you ask somebody, many of you are, I've experienced this, of course, myself too, that when somebody is asking, how are you feeling? You would say, I feel okay. I'm doing good. There has been experiences when somebody was saying this, and then the next day this person was gone. And by gone, I mean this person might have committed suicide without any reasons, without the surroundings or the environment, the family, being in complete shock because they did not see that coming. So that's why I want to emphasize and make clear that it is important that you are reaching out to somebody. And please don't feel bad about it or feel uncomfortable about it. There is still this, I'm not sure if the word stigma is the right word, but there is still some kind of a feeling or so when somebody says I have therapy, a lot of people might find that you might be crazy. There's still this negative vibe about having therapy or looking or reaching out for help, but it is the right thing to do. I tried to do that in my life. I did that maybe not really on time, if there would be a right time for it. I have had conversations with people who would say, Elizabeth, drinking is not your solution. But at the time when I was drinking, it was the right thing to do because it would solve my problems. I would not need to think about them for a while. And of course, I knew that they would come back, but the time that I would not have to think about them, it was such a joy. I had a lot of fun. Of course, there were also moments that it was not fun at all and I was going down the spiral. And when you're going spiral down, it is very hard to get out of this. Because your thoughts are in a certain vibration and it is very hard to get out of it. So we would like to ask you, reach out for anybody before you're going spiral down. Because any advice or suggestions at that moment in time when you're in the spiral down might not be something that you are looking for. Because you are already so down that anything that is being suggested, you want to, it does not help. You already made up your mind and say whatever is being suggested to me, I'm not going to take it because I don't feel like it. Now, when I was drinking, it was helping me for a certain period of time, but it was not helping my surroundings. It was not helping the partner I was with. For sure, it also had an impact on my children. Now, alcohol is something of a short term. Let me say it in this way. When you're looking for a solution, alcohol is a short-term solution, but it has a lifetime impact on you. It will only help you for a moment, to only help you maybe for 2 hours, maybe longer. It depends on how much you take in and how much or how you would feel afterwards. But the alcohol has an impact on your body. It has an impact on your organs. It has an impact on your brain. I was walking around with a foggy head for a number of times. I pretended that I knew what I was doing, and I was trying to convince myself that I knew what I was doing. But I'm sure that my family or the ones who were near to me had a different opinion or a different feeling about it. So before you are starting to reach out to something like alcohol or pills, please remember and understand fully that these items are only for a short term. It's a short-term solution, if you can call it a solution at all. It has a lifetime impact on you. And it has not only an impact on you, it also has an impact on your direct environment. It has an impact on your colleagues. It has an impact on your loved ones. It has an impact on anybody who is near to you, and it does not matter in what kind of field that you are working in or having a relationship in. Does that make sense?
It does. And you're talking about alcoholism, someone who can't control, not someone who just has a drink occasionally, right?
No, exactly. When you have a drink occasionally, it is perfectly fine, but you have to be very careful because alcohol does something to your body. Alcohol is something that it is like, I almost want to say it is something like chocolate. If you have one little piece, you want to have more. And then a little bit more. And then maybe one glass or two will be 2 glasses. And those 2 glasses might become half a bottle. So as long as you are aware how much you are drinking, and when you are aware that you are increasing the intake of alcohol, I would say that you are okay. If you are, for example, when you're out on at a festivity or on a birthday or New Year's Eve, Christmas is coming, if you will drink a glass of white wine or any kind of alcohol, You are drinking it with pleasure. You are drinking it with a higher vibration. But when you are down and you want to forget your problems, the experiences or the feelings you want to escape, then the alcohol will not be uplifting. It will drag you down even further away from you. And that wants to make you drink even more. Does it sound logic?
That makes sense. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So let me see what else I can say about the difference of just drinking when it is like a leisure on something that you do for fun, or you want to drink something with your friends. It has not become an addiction.
Mm-hmm.
That is why I maybe have pointed out to chocolate, because chocolate also has some kind of impact on your body that you cannot leave it with one little piece. You need to have more. Or maybe with chips.
So, in my experience, some people can drink alcohol and stay in the higher vibration and be fun. And some people have alcohol and it changes their personality and it drags them down into a lower vibration, into darkness, into emotions they've ignored, into all of those things. And that's kind of what you're explaining to us, right?
Yes, yes. And there is this well-known sentence that it says, when somebody's drinking, you will find out who this person truly is. Does this ring true to you, Tamalla?
It does. And the reason that I laugh is because when I drink, I get very happy and I make friends. Like I will wander off and go talk to other people and make friends. And so I think that's very interesting.
It is wonderful when you're able to do it because you're in a higher vibration. You're drinking because you have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a very fun evening, and you are maybe saying at the end of the day or a day of work, and you might think, let me have a glass because now I want to relax.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for the ones who want to escape, like I wanted to do in my life, or like what Ava, she wanted to be accepted. You're drinking for like unhealthy reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And then indeed it goes spiral down.
Mm-hmm.
It is very scary when somebody suddenly changes behavior after drinking some alcohol.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's very scary.
Because you do not recognize the character, you're not recognizing the personality, and people around you might not know how to cope with this.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of experience do you have yourself with alcohol?
Well, for me, when I drink alcohol, it just makes me happy and I want to love people. So I go and make new friends. My ex-husband actually died from alcoholism,
I'm so
and
sorry.
it changed his personality in a very terrible and negative way. He went from a person who loved my children, who loved me, who was very happy and social, into a very controlling, domineering, mentally and physically abusive person in the blink of an eye. And it was terrifying, and it was it was upsetting in multiple ways because, you know, I had married this person who was this person and now they weren't this person anymore. And so it also makes you rethink about yourself. You know, am I such a bad judge of character, and, you know, all of those things. And he never was able to stop drinking, even though he went to rehab multiple times. He wouldn't stay. And he ended up dying from complications from alcoholism.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a tragedy.
I'm really sorry that you had to go through these experiences, Tamalla. And I'm really sorry to hear that your former husband died out of complications.
Mm-hmm. Me too. I wish it could have been different, but it was his choice.
Yes. What did you decide to leave?
Why did I decide to leave?
Yes.
Because I finally understood that he was not going to take responsibility and he wasn't going to try to heal. Once I really understood that, then I had the ability to try to begin to start figuring out how to get me and my children away safely. Because by that time it had become so toxic that I feared for our safety. But, you know, it was he would drink and then say, oh, you know, I love you, I won't do it again. And then he would drink and, of course, you know, do it again. And, you know, there were periods where he would go a year without drinking, and then he would have one drink, and then it would be just a downhill slide, you know. And so, was it that way for you? Did you have periods of time when you didn't drink at all?
I believe I did, but they were not that often.
And did it change your personality?
I think it did when I became older, it did. And there was a time that I actually became afraid of myself.
Mm.
Because I realized I had no control over my own body anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid for what I was going to do. To myself, but also to my loved ones. When it became clear to me that I was not able anymore to control my own physical body, I got scared. But the alcohol itself did already a lot of damage to my physical body. So it already had a bad influence on my organs. There was no clear thinking anymore. And as you say, sorry, it will not happen anymore. But it can be like empty words.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my case, when I said it will not happen anymore, I'm so sorry, I knew that it might not be true.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to convince your loved ones in that moment of time, it is somehow a rush. And I mean with that is, in one hand side, I was very happy that I could convince them, but I was not really convinced of myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the in that case, I call my loved ones the external world, who believed my words, but at the same, it was somehow. I was, of course, very happy. I was very happy that they believed me. I was very happy that they cared about me. But I was not taking care of myself that much that I did not realize that I was not taking care of myself. And when I was not taking care of myself, you can have 100 people around you, talking from my experience. You can have multiple people around you, giving you the feeling that you are that they are caring for you. But when you are not in the state of mind yourself, that you are taking care of yourself, you will make the same choice over and over and over again. And that is the same thing with when you go through hardship. You have maybe made a decision on how to go forward. But when you are not convinced yourself, you are in a repeating pattern. Does this make sense? Is it clear?
It does, yes, absolutely.
So yes, I would like to say to the ones who are maybe having the experience right now, or maybe have had the experience in the past with somebody close, somebody that you loved very much. When you had a person like this close to you, and you care so much about the other person, and you see the person that you love making the same mistake after the next, please do not feel responsible that you could have done more, because it is the person itself who is dealing with certain hardships. When he or she is not able to take care of himself or herself, or is not convinced that he or she can do it, the choice is always been made by the person who is not feeling well. When he or she does not realize what is going on, you cannot convince somebody to seek for help. Has this been your experience as well?
Absolutely. And when their ego is involved, the ego thinks they can do anything. I can beat this, I can do anything. And
Yes.
it's not always true.
No. But for the person that we are talking about, in my case it is myself, when we are not realizing that, we go back to the same, it is somehow like a behavior. It's a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
When you have grabbed one bottle, you go to the next bottle. And when that is empty, you go to the next bottle until there might be a point in time that the bottles do not work anymore and you need something stronger.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking it into it in another direction. So as a surroundings, I would say, if you know somebody in that position, I would say you are not the one who's responsible. Still love this person. And please do not force, because when you are trying to force somebody to go into the AA, for example, if the person you're trying to help is not willing to go, it has no use.
Mm-hmm.
Because when this person doesn't want to help him or herself, it's, this person can go, but it will not receive the treatment that he or she needs, and the external world is very much hoping for that he or she receives. Does it sound logic?
Yes, absolutely. I have a question.
Yes, please.
Did your drinking interfere with your work?
I would say later on, yes. It would interfere my work in a way that I actually start to drink alcohol in the movies I was playing in.
Mm-hmm.
It interfered in such a way that the directors did not know what to do with me, because the clues that they wanted to give me by playing a certain role, I was not picking up. I would disregard their directions, their input. It influenced me in a way that I did not really clearly remember my lines. And I would sell it as improvising, so that people around me would not notice that I might have been under influence. That is also one thing that I would like to say, that in my case, when I was trying to escape from hardship, you, or at least I became, in a sense, very creative in finding excuses. I became creative in a sense that I actually believed myself. As what you say, the ego is involved. So when I would have said to my colleagues, I'm improvising, it is somehow like your ego is accepting that kind of excuse. It's trying to give you a good feeling that you have not, that you are not in a bad place. Yes, these are the things that I, when it comes to alcohol and how that affected my work. You know, my name has been so big in the show business that they actually more or less accepted my behavior. They were accepting that I was drinking, because for them it was more important to earn and do well on a certain movie, because my name was included. which is also not very helpful when your colleagues or your external world is accepting what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you continue with whatever you have been doing. There's no reason to stop because there is support for you to continue in what you're doing because it's being accepted. It is actually very sad.
Mm-hmm.
And it creates a very uncomfortable working atmosphere as well for the other persons on the set.
Mm-hmm.
But when your ego is involved, you don't really care. Is there anything else you would like to ask me?
Did you find yourself doing other risky behaviors or unsafe behaviors or not normal you behaviors when you were drinking?
Most likely I did. But I have to say that in the time when I was drinking and I was drunk, I would not see them as risky.
Mm-hmm.
I would see it as in daring to do something,
Mm-hmm.
but not thinking of the consequences. Because when a sober person would do the same things what I've been doing, it was almost a shock. It is like not recognizing yourself. And for me, being in a state of being drunk and then do a certain action, I would just laugh about it when somebody was found it extreme or did not expect me to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my eyes, it was not something extreme. Because I did not feel like this. And of course it did not feel like this because all my feelings were numb.
Mm-hmm.
I was not attached into my body. It is how I think that most of the people will recognize this feeling. It is when you are out on a party and you're having great fun and you know that you have drank a little bit too much, a little bit more than you are supposed to. And then people around you are seeing you and say, as a teaser, are you drunk? And you're pretending that you are not. And you're trying to do so much your best to come across that you are not drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recognize this?
I do. Uh-huh.
So it is the same thing for me when I did something radical when I was drunk. I was then pretending it was not that radical at all. I would just laugh it off. And I can understand it is very hard to watch for the ones who were living with me. It also does not really help when you're married to somebody who drinks as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is something that sometimes, yes, I was also, my biggest reason was to escape from my feelings, but there were also moments that I was escaping from feeling alone.
Mm-hmm.
And when I felt alone, of course I was looking for somebody who would understand me. And when you're trying to look for somebody who understands you, you're exactly going to look for somebody who has the same behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who drinks as well, because it's the only person that would understand you. And then you're drinking together. But I think you did not let that come that far, right? You were not drinking along with your ex-husband.
In the beginning, we would social drink. You know, we would have friends over and we would have cocktails and drink and, you know, play board games or play pool or, you know, do fun things. But I'd never drank to excess. That was never my thing. I was lucky.
Yes, because you are very strong-minded.
Mm-hmm.
You knew that if you will go down that path, it will not be of your benefit, and especially not for your children.
Mm-hmm.
So now I would like to ask you something, Tamalla. How was it for you to be with somebody who drank? So when he would do something that you would not have seen coming or you did not expect, what kind of reaction did you have? Were you thinking, I have to be out of his way? Were you like running away from from the situation, or what would you do? What did you do?
Uh, for me, because I'm a very strong personality, um, I would oftentimes throw myself between him and whoever he was attacking, because he would attack people. And a lot of times he would try to attack my children. And of course I would throw myself in and physically stand. And he was, you know, I'm 5'2", 2.5, and he was 6'3", or 6'4". And so when I, you know, he was like that much taller than me. And I'm sure it looked funny to other people, but I mean, even in public, when he would get belligerent and offensive and angry and challenging other people, I would throw myself in there and you know, tell him I'm not going to tolerate that. That's not going to happen. Oftentimes it got me hit instead of other people, but I would rather it have been me, because I don't know, I just felt like I could take it better than other people. You know, it was like it didn't demoralize me, it pissed me off. And so for me, just because of my personality, I never backed away. I made it very clear it was unacceptable. But a lot of people don't or can't. But even making it clear that it wasn't acceptable, that still didn't negate me going through the whole process of being shocked and stunned and horrified, and how did this happen, and blaming myself, and then trying to get him help, and then wanting to love him and support him so he could get help, and then being surprised when it didn't work again, and then enabling his behavior, and, you know, going through the whole process. Addiction is a disease, but it also is a disease of the people around you, because they have their own parts they play in the process, right? And so I had to heal all those parts about myself, in order to be able to free us too. Did that answer your question?
Yes, more than this, because I now want to ask you a few more questions.
We're interviewing you.
Yes, but that's true. But I also find it very important because I find it important as well for people to know that when you are not as strong as you have been, Tamalla, in that time, what would you advise for anybody who is in a relationship with somebody who drinks?
The first thing that I would suggest is for that person, the person who is in the relationship with the addict, is for that person to get their own help, to get their own support, to get their own understanding that it's not their fault, that they didn't do anything to create it, and that it's not their responsibility to fix the other person either. That's huge, because oftentimes the alcoholic or the addict will blame the spouse or the loved one or the children, and they'll say, well, I only drink because of you, right? If you didn't upset me so much, I wouldn't have to, or, all of those things. And so if the partner could come to the understanding that it's not about them, that they're not responsible, and that they need to do what's most supportive for them and their children, or, if there are any. Because addiction is something we can't fix in other people. And it's something that we either fuel or we walk away from. And I don't think there's really that much of a middle ground, because you're either allowing it to happen or you're not, right? There's no middle ground. And for full disclosure, I was addicted to cigarettes for 25 years. And so I understand the addictive personality, because I had to have my cigarettes. While he was drinking, I was smoking, right? Mm-hmm. So I knew that it was the same kind of behavior. And I was grateful that I was hooked on cigarettes and not alcohol, because the cigarettes didn't change my personality, right? Other than making me stand out in the rain to smoke a cigarette, right? But they didn't make me mean. They didn't make me hurt other people in that way. And so people also can understand, the partner can also understand that sometimes loving the addict is leaving. You have to love yourself first. And sometimes that requires you leaving and loving yourself enough to leave. And it's not easy.
No, it is beautifully said.
Thank you.
For taking care of yourself first, what you are saying, it is something that we all have to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you already spoke about this with Ava. Taking care of yourself, for example, most of us women have not learned to take care of ourselves first. We come at the bottom part.
Mm-hmm.
And when there will be a moment where you are deciding that you are more important than you ever have thought that you will be.
Mm-hmm.
It is not that easy. Because you might say, I am important too, I'm going to take care of myself. But really, when it did not really 100% not 100% fully understood what these words actually mean.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you are saying it to yourself, you also need to act towards that.
Mm-hmm.
And then acting in a way that you are taking care of yourself first can bring along a lot of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And emotions that you thought you would never have.
Mm-hmm.
things that you would have thought that you would not have to deal with, or you were not even aware that they were part of you. Something that happened a very long time ago when you were a child and you did not remember. Did not remember how much of an influence a certain situation or experience had on you. And you were dealing with things that might surprise you. But that very first step, saying to yourself that you are more important, is already a step. And you can only increase it. And I'm not going to say that it is easy, because there will be many ups and downs. And there will be points in time that you might think, just forget about this. There might be points that you want to give up. And that is exactly the moment that you have to continue. Continue to make yourself healthier. Continue to make yourself happier. Continue to progress. To learn how to see the difference. What your actions have been in the past and how your actions have changed. You might not recognize yourself anymore. And what you're saying, your surroundings will not recognize you when you have made the decision to take care of yourself. A person who is addicted, in my case, I did not love myself that much that I wanted to take care of my mental health. I found it easier to grab something. It was for me easier to buy it. It was easier for me to ask somebody else to get it for me. It was somehow like a comfort, like it is. I almost want to say that when you are a little girl and your father gives you a huge big teddy bear, and you are so in love with your teddy bear, it almost feels like this to me, comforting.
Yeah.
But that comfort only lasts for a moment. The pain that I was trying to escape from was still there. It was still there the day after, or the day after next, and the day after next. And it will stay there until I decided to do something about it. I don't want to speak for too long. I would like to say a few more words. Is there anything else that you want to ask me?
Well, I was going to ask, what did you decide to do about it?
I'm not going to recommend this to anybody. But there was a moment in time something happened that decided me to change Something needed to happen in my life for me to open up my eyes.
Mhm.
To realize what the alcohol was doing. If you would have asked me, would you have done it in a different way? I most likely would have said yes. Something happened to me that made me realize that I could not go on for this for much longer. That is all that I want to share
All right. Thank you.
for now. You're very welcome. Thank you very much for having this conversation with me. I know it is not an easy topic. And I really appreciated that you took your time and to be open to share your experiences, Tamalla, because you have received the experience from a different side.
Mm-hmm.
You lived with somebody who was similar to me, and I would not be able to understand how it is to be on the receiving end.
Mm-hmm.
And that was for me important to ask you how you felt and what you think that somebody in a relationship where somebody's addicted, what you would do. Because I'm sure that there are still many people out there who are in a relationship with somebody who is addicted. It does not matter if it is alcohol or pills or you can even have an addiction to sex.
Mm-hmm.
Any addiction. You can have an addiction to work.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes our bodies are or have been designed in a way to have an addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Something is either missing in the brain or something has been set up for you or designed for you to have an addiction, to understand what it is to have one.
Mm-hmm.
There are multiple possibilities of why somebody would be or have an addiction.
Mm-hmm.
It is not always one or the other.
Right.
And that is why also it is very difficult for the environment, for the loved ones to understand and know what can we do.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes it is designed for the ones who are in addiction to have one. Because this person has asked for this.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe in that lifetime it was not designed in a way that this person would be healed. I know I go off topic, as in like not off topic, but I'm talking about something that is not seen that often.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to open that up. I would like to open up that part that it is not always the one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
There are multiple options, possibilities for a person to lead a certain life, and the reason why is not always being answered.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why I also actually would like to say that mental health is important. It is important when a person went through certain experiences in life. Like, for example, for you,
Mm-hmm.
you went through the experience of living with somebody who had an addiction,
Mm-hmm.
and how that influenced you, but also your children, and even people that he wants to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this kind of experience, or the understanding how it is to live with somebody who has an addiction, does not come from books.
Yep.
You can read many books. You can read many different uh, um, points of view. You can read all that, you can all remember that. But if there would be a 100% understanding, that is my question mark.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to point that out.
Mm-hmm.
If I would have been surrounded with people who would have lived with somebody who had the experience with living with somebody who has had an addiction,
Mm-hmm.
and I would be in the right time of my life to be open to receive the the information, or the guidance the other person would have,
Mm-hmm.
it would have been for me more beneficial. Does that make sense?
It does, because I guess what you've said is nobody pointed out that you were an alcoholic,
Yes,
and so that made it difficult for you to identify it and then make different choices.
yes. Because I realized maybe later when it was already too late.
Right. Well, I'm sorry you had that experience.
Oh, thank you, but I chose it to be like that.
Hmm.
I chose it to be like this because now in this way I can share you the information. I can share with you and the listeners how it is from my point of view.
Mm-hmm.
I can share this now. It might be a very odd way um, to come through a body that is not mine, um, to share my experiences, but it is possible.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why we are here also. We want to show our own experiences and how that has been lived from our side.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think Eva mentioned, or was it? No, it was me. I said in the very beginning that you would not know how somebody is from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And now it is possible to receive that information.
Being inside Cindy.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
So we can share, we can open up certain difficult topics to be discussed, because we are dead, or at least our bodies are not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a way to communicate with you. And there's still a way for us to make clear what we have been through and share this from our point of view. Because we were not able to do this when we were alive. You would not have been able to do this because it was not allowed for us to be 100% honest. It was also maybe not possible because we might have only learned the lesson after we passed away.
Interesting.
And we would not have learned that at the end of our life. We had to leave our bodies in order to understand what the lesson was.
Very interesting.
Yes, it is super, it is complex. Life is it is interesting, but it is also very complex. The whole setup, there is so much more than you think there is. But that might be for another time.
Indeed.
I would like to thank you very much, Tamalla, for being my listening ear and for sharing your experiences, your feelings, your emotions, and for being vulnerable like this on the internet. And I would like to thank the ones who are listening for listening to me. I hope it was helpful. And I have much more to share, and most likely I will do this by making more videos, and of course with the help of this lovely lady, who I see it is somehow like a telephone, and like a modern way of phoning. It might not, maybe the mind is not really used to it yet. For many people that it is possible, but it is somehow, it is a way for us to communicate. And I see this as like a modern way of telephoning from one world to the other.
That's beautiful.
Yes. Thank you again, and I hope we can speak to each other again.
Me
in the
too.
future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Hi.
Hello.
That was, I think, a very long conversation.
It was about an hour.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good. How do you feel?
I feel good. How about you?
Oh, okay. I'm not here yet.
I understand.
Yeah. So, I just want to close this video because I'm a little bit lightheaded. So thank you so much for listening in. And I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Tamalla and Elizabeth, and that you were able to capture both points of views, because I got that a certain situation is looked at from both sides. And I think that will be very helpful as well for the ones listening.
Yeah.
So again, thank you so much.